Hey everyone, this is Toasted Gaming, and welcome back to the series where I take classic game engines, dig through every single game made with them, and rank them all from worst to best, so you don't have to. If you've seen my previous videos on the Quake engine, the Doom engine or the Wolfenstein engine, then you already know what time it is. If you haven't, first of all, how dare you? But second of all, there's a whole playlist on my channel where I do deep dives like this, so go binge that after this video, or before. Today though, we're finally covering the Goldsource engine, also known as the mutated love child of Quake and Valve magic, that gave us Half-Life, Counter-Strike, and enough cursed mods to power thousands of YouTube videos. The Goldsource engine, also known as GoldSrc, if you're feeling fancy, is essentially Valve taking its software's Quake engine, duct taping it to some custom code, adding AI and scripting magic, and birthing what would become one of the most important FPS engines in history. It's the engine that made Half-Life a genre-defining masterpiece, and launched Counter-Strike from a humble mod into an esports giant. Now, quick disclaimer, this ranking is mostly based on my own opinion, which means I've played all of these, or at least I saw a lot of footage of the games that are no longer possible to play, cried in fear at some, I'm talking about Cryo Fear, and cursed the day I installed others. There are some weird ones from Asia. But to be fair, I also took into account user reviews, critic feedback and the game's legacy, polish, fun factor, graphics and innovation. Basically, I tried to strike a balance between nostalgia, design quality and historical importance, with a bit of sass sprinkled in. Also, I included a few Xash 3D powered games, because that engine is a direct descendant of Goldsource. I found only 2 games that were based on it, and I'll probably never gonna make video on that engine, and since it's basically Goldsource with a lot of upgrades, so I think you're not gonna be too much against me using it. It looks like Goldsource, smells like Goldsource and shoots like Goldsource, so it's getting ranked. So with that out of the way, grab your HEV suits, prep your buy menu, and let's dive into every game made with a Goldsource engine, ranked from total ricochets to an absolute legends. Let's go. Starting at 17th place with Counter-Strike Nexon Zombies, the game that dared to ask, what if you threw everything into CS and hoped something sticks? Originally launched in Asia and later unleashed on Steam, this is the most chaotic CS variant you'll ever play. It has zombies, PvE missions, wacky anime cosmetics and 1000 game modes, none of which are particularly good. On paper it sounds like it could be fun. In practice it's like a cursed bullet where everything looks interesting but gives you food poisoning. It runs on the Goldsource engine somehow, yet it barely feels like a CS game. More like a mobile spin-off that got lost and ended up on PC. It's not completely unplayable, and some people actually enjoy it ironically. But let's be real, the bottom of the barrel here. At number 16 we have Deathmatch Classic. Valve made it as a tribute to Quake's original multiplayer, because, you know, Goldsource was basically Quake's younger cousin, so it kinda made sense. Problem is, Quake's tight, crunchy gunplay didn't translate super well into Goldsource's floater physics and movement. The weapons are reskinned versions of Quake's arsenal, the maps are decent recreations, and it does run well. But it feels like you're playing Quake inside a dream where everything is just a bit off. It never really caught on because, well, we already had actual Quake, and this didn't do anything better. Neat as a historical curiosity, but mostly forgotten. Great if you want a 5-minute nostalgia snack, otherwise pass. Plus it's dead, there is no players online. Number 15 is Counter-Strike Online. So Valve gave Nexon the keys to the franchise and said, do what you must, just don't mess up the headshot hitboxes. The result? A free-to-play CS 1.6 experience designed for Asian markets with added characters, weapons, skins and, of course, monetization. It's functional, it's flashy, and it has more costumes than a cosplay convention, but it doesn't feel like classic CS anymore. The tension, the purity, the balance, all of that gets a bit lost under the layers of cosmetics and cash shop mechanics. Still, it was super popular in Korea and parts of Southeast Asia, so credit where it's due, for its audience, just not me. Also, it had a sequel for Source Engine. Sliding into spot number 14, we have Ricochet. It's a neon-lit Tron-inspired disc bouncing game that ran on the Goldsource engine and came bundled with Half-Life at one point. The goal? Knock other players off platforms using your glowing frisbee of doom. That's it. That's the game. And honestly, it's not bad, it's just bizarre. You play it once, go, huh, that was kind of fun, and then never touch it again. But hey, at least it became a meme. People love to joke that Ricochet 2 is coming before Half-Life 3. And Valve keeps the joke alive by never confirming otherwise. For what it is, it's harmless and entertaining, but ranking-wise, it's dead, nobody's playing it anymore, and also, I don't know how can anybody not get bored of it in like 5 or 10 minutes. Next up, in 13th place we got James Bond 007 Nightfire, but only the PC version. Unlike its console siblings, the PC version of Nightfire was developed by Gearbox Software. Yes, the same folks who made Half-Life Opposing Force and Blue Shift. They powered it with heavily modified Goldsource engine, which already makes this version kind of special. No driving levels here, those were cut out so they could focus entirely on first-person shooting. And for what it is, it's actually not bad. The single player has a decent campaign with Bond gadgets. The voice acting isn't terrible, and the online multiplayer with bots was a cool bonus at the time. So even if nobody plays anymore online, you can play with bots too. But it's still stuck between generations, not quite up to par with modern shooters, not quite classic enough to be iconic. Still, for a Bond game running on the same engine as Counter-Strike, it's surprisingly competent. Underrated, but not unforgettable. Next on the list we have Condition Zero Deleted Scenes. Originally meant to be the main campaign for Counter-Strike Condition Zero, this ended up being chopped off and released as its own weird bonus. And honestly, it feels like it. Deleted Scenes is a collection of linear, over-the-top missions where you play as elite operatives in wildly different locations, doing everything from defusing bombs to sneaking through labs to blowing up tanks. It's fun in a goofy arcade kind of way. There's no multiplayer, no strategy, no economy system, just pure run and gun with a hint of 80s or 90s Stallone, Van Damme or Schwarzenegger movie. And you know what? It kind of rules in its own clunky, outdated way. Think Counter-Strike meets Michael Bay on a budget. It's not what CS fans wanted, but it's also not terrible. Just don't expect tactical depth. Expect explosions. Number 11 is Counter-Strike Neo. This is easily the most bizarre entry in the CS universe. And I love that it exists. Developed by Namco and exclusive to Japanese arcades, Neo took the classic CS formula and slapped an anime aesthetic on top. Gone are the balaclavas and bomb sites, replaced by futuristic cityscapes, mecha-themed factions, and a female voiced announcer yelling victory lines. It had unique maps, lore, seasonal events, and even spin-off Flash visual novels. Yes, this is the only Counter-Strike that lets you read a dating sim about your teammates. Gameplay-wise, it's still CS at its core. Shooting, defusing, planting, but the presentation is so wildly different that it feels like a parallel universe, where Counter-Strike evolved through the lens of a Ghost in the Shell fanboy. It's weird, it's rare, and honestly, it's kind of iconic in its own niche way. In 10th position we have Paranoia 2 Savior, technically running on the Xash 3D engine, but made entirely in the spirit of Goldsource. This is a horror shooter sequel to the original Paranoia, and it goes hard, like ridiculously hard. The visuals are stunning for the engine, we're talking bump mapping, HDR lighting, parallax textures, things Goldsource could only dream about while overheating in 2001. You play through a post-Soviet nightmare, full of tight corridors, mutants, and that classic Eastern European dread, where everything is concrete and something is always watching you. The AI is smarter, the modding support is robust, and the storytelling is way more ambitious than you'd expect. It doesn't have a legacy of its predecessor, but technically it's a beast. A beautiful, terrifying beast. Coming in at number 9 is Counter-Strike Condition Zero. It was supposed to be the next big step for Counter-Strike. What we got was more like CS 1.6 with shiner models. A campaign nobody asked for, and bots who talk way too much. Like seriously, they never shut up. That said, it's not a bad game. In fact, the bots were amazing for the time. You could actually practice solo and not feel like you were shooting potatoes with guns. The graphics were slightly better, the maps were remade, and for new players this was a solid introduction to Counter-Strike. It just came out at the wrong time. CS Source was around the corner, 1.6 was still dominant, and Condition Zero kind of got lost in the shuffle. But looking back, it's a cool time capsule, and honestly, deleted scenes alone gives it more personality than some modern shooters. Coming in at solid number 8, it's Gunman Chronicles. It's the kind of game you stumble across and go, wait, this ran on the same engine as Half-Life? Well, yes, yeah, it did. Originally a Quake mod called Gunmanship 101, this thing evolved, mutated, and eventually got published by Sierra as a full standalone game, with Valve even helping out during development. You play as a space cowboy in a dinosaur-infested galaxy, and the standout feature, customizable weapons. Your pistol can become a sniper, a burst fire machine, or a literal hand cannon. Your rocket launcher, you can configure it to shoot homing missiles, time bombs, or cluster charges. It's wild. Add to that a full tank driving sequence, and some pretty solid level variety, and you've got a sleeper hit that deserved way more love than it got. It's janky, it's ambitious, it's weird, and honestly, I think it kinda rules. Number 7 is where things start to get really good, and it's Van Co-op. It started as a humble Half-Life mod, and eventually grew into one of the most beloved multiplayer experiences on the engine. The concept is simple. Take Half-Life's campaign, or pretty much any custom map ever made, and make it cooperative. And suddenly the same alien that used to terrify you is just hilarious, when 5 players are beating it with crowbars in sync. I was thinking if I should include it or not, but there's actually a standalone release. You can get it for free on Steam without even having Half-Life. If I remember right, with that version you can't play any Half-Life maps, but it has just hundreds of custom maps, so I decided that we can include it here. So Sven is more than just Half-Life with buddies. It evolved into its own massive platform, with custom maps, boss fights, scripted events, and community-created chaos. You could be playing a horror map one second, and a giant Lego-themed obstacle course the next. And the best part? It's still alive, still being updated, still chaotic as hell. Sven Co-op is proof that the Goldsource engine refuses to die, and honestly, I don't want it to. In 6th place we have Paranoia. Paranoia is what happens when Russian developers take the Goldsource engine and say, let's make it terrifying, beautiful, and absolutely bonkers. You play as a Russian Secret Service agent sent to investigate an industrial complex, but instead of terrorists, you end up face to face with mutants, zombies, and some serious Cold War sci-fi nightmares. It features an actually interesting story, custom AI, iron sights, dynamic lighting, and even music from Russian rock band, because why not? So originally released as a mod for Half-Life, later it was ported to Xash 3D, meaning it runs standalone now, with better lighting, 3D skyboxes, and you don't need to even own Half-Life to play it. But at its heart, it's pure Goldsource soul. Pretty, creepy, creative, and genuinely impressive technically. It deserves a spot this high, no question. Plus, developers even ported it to Dreamcast. Sitting comfortably in 5th place, we got Team Fortress Classic. This is the granddaddy of class-based shooters. Built on Goldsource as a remake of the original Quake mod, TFC gave us 9 distinct classes, each with their own roles, weapons, and playstyles, and then threw them all into chaotic objective-based maps like Dufort, and well, It's frantic, it's unbalanced, it's beautiful in its own messiness. You've got medics infecting people with bioweapons, scouts running like headless chickens, and engineers turning spawn doors into death traps. It's pure online chaos, but in a charming early 2000s way. It didn't age perfectly, and TF2 definitely refined the formula, but TFC deserves respect. It laid the groundwork for an entire genre, and it's still fun if you embrace the madness. Number 4, and now we're talking classics. It's Day of Defeat, a World War II multiplayer shooter that people either played religiously or completely missed, and there's no in between. Started as a mod, got picked up by Valve, and evolved into full-fledged class-based tactical shooter, with everything from riflemen and machine gunners to snipers and bazooka guys. What made it special? The pacing. It wasn't about kill streaks or bunny hopping. This was a slower, more tactical game where every bullet actually mattered. Add to that some really well-designed maps, tactical depth, and a community that took the game very seriously, and you've got one of Goldsource's most refined multiplayer experiences. It didn't get as much mainstream love as Counter-Strike, but real ones know. Day of Defeat walked, so games like Call of Duty could run. Taking home the bronze at number 3 is Cry of Fear. It started as a mod and eventually became a standalone game. It's one of the most technically and emotionally ambitious horror games ever made, and I say that with zero exaggeration. Somehow this little indie shooter ends up doing inventory systems, voice acting, cutscenes, co-op and boss fights, all inside a crusty old, fake-derived engine. You play as a dude dealing with trauma, walking through rain-soaked streets, haunted hospitals, and his own psyche. The enemies are grotesque, the atmosphere is heavy, and the tone is unapologetically bleak. In my opinion, this is one of the scariest games ever made. It's an emotional gut punch, a technical showcase, and a proof that the modding scene was carrying horror on its back, way before the indie boom. Cry of Fear isn't just good, it's important. Runner-up at number 2 is Counter-Strike. There's no denying it. Counter-Strike 1.6 in particular is one of the most influential multiplayer games ever made. What began as a humble Half-Life mod turned into a global phenomenon. Tight gameplay, incredible map design, high skill ceiling, and that tension when you're the last one alive with a bomb ticking. It birthed the modern esports scene, it created a competitive culture, and it taught millions of us what the AK spray pattern was, even if we still can't control it. People still play it today, servers are still up, montages are still being made with Linkin Park in the background, and you know what? It deserves to be this high. Without CS, a huge chunk of modern multiplayer history simply wouldn't exist. At number 1, no surprises here, it's Half-Life. Half-Life isn't just the best Goldsource game, it's the reason the engine exists in the first place. When it dropped in '98, it blew everyone's minds. There were no cutscenes, no loading screens between story beats, just you, stuck in Black Mesa, trying to survive an alien invasion with a crowbar and some questionable OSHA standards. The AI was smart, the world was immersive, the storytelling was seamless, and the modding scene, it exploded. Without Half-Life there'd be no Counter-Strike, no Day of Defeat, no Garry's mod. We wouldn't have so many incredible mods. It was the nuclear explosion that launched 1,000 dev careers. Even today, it's playable, engaging, and absolutely iconic. There's no competition. Half-Life stands at the top, not just as a game, but as a moment in gaming history. And that's the full list. Every game made with a Goldsource engine. Did I miss any? Maybe there are some underground ones that started as mods but later turned out to be standalone games? If there are, tell me in the comments below. Whether you agree with my ranking or you're currently writing a 3000-word essay in the comments about how Condition Zero is one of the best games on this list, or how Ricochet is a misunderstood gem, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which games you'd move up, down, or completely erase from existence. If you enjoyed this trip through modding history, classic multiplayer, and horror masterpieces, smash that like button like it's a headcrab sneaking up on you. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, because next time I'm dropping part 2 of my Doom engine ranking, And trust me, that one's gonna get spicy. Also in the future I'll be doing what must be done, ranking every Source engine game. I did some early research just to see how many games there are, and there's like 90 if I remember right. And every like and subscribe on this video would just make me more motivated to work on that video. Until then, stay hydrated, uninstall Nexon Zombies, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.